Here's a channel that YouTube always recommends to me, and I think it shows amazing examples of everything we enjoy researching pertaining to the old world. I don't think he watches old world research as he throws around dates that indicate a more mainstream perspective, millions of years and such. But whatever, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think he and his community have compiled an excellent showcase that can be found on his website, it seems, or on the community post. And that's what we're going to check out here. I guess I want to run his research through my filter and share these amazing sites with you all. I thank you for being here. God bless and welcome. So here we start out at a pyramid in Mexico, in the vicinity of Veracruz, and the site encompasses at least 577 structures. Only 50 have been excavated and made accessible to the public. So here we go, 500 or so pyramids, and this is just what they could see, poking out of the jungle, some completely buried, and this is what the famous sites look like when they discovered them. Totally overgrown, severely damaged, and this is no joke. The sharp corners, the smooth, flush faces, having gone through a cataclysm, there's no doubt, of course, and still looking this good. Still construction that would put a modern mason to shame. And 500 that they're openly sharing. So this changes everything. It's not just like a few pyramids. It would be the equivalent of Egypt saying we just found 500 pyramids all around the Giza complex. They're just buried in sand. And not even. They're exposed. They were just down the street and we discovered them. And again, I don't think that the dates or narratives we're given are going to be accurate on these sites. If you go visit a museum, you'll see loincloth wearing people, very primitive, given credit for these sites. And it's just not so. Here we see passageways going into the underrealm. And the stone or brick or concrete looks even better underground, of course. So next we have the Mayan city of Tulum. Here we go. I mean, so elegant. Look at these columns. Just the mass of these buildings, the way they're arranged in a World's Fair style. Waterways, and completely cooked, almost rendered to ash anymore, and these buildings turn to powder. However, so much is preserved. And here we're seeing a little more square elements and Greco-Roman. Here a better picture of that. And all of this material, in my opinion, has been absolutely heat damaged, water damaged, natural, and perhaps hastened by man, not built by a loincloth people. You have to imagine this in its glory. And the existence of it in this condition is proof to the superb quality of this building material. Here again, like a beach town of ruins. You can see it. Absolutely elegant, sophisticated, advanced modern city. Now cooked and given credit to a loincloth people. I mean, at first I thought I was seeing the aftermath of the recent Hawaii fires. And here again, I mean, anyone in Hawaii or the world wishes they had a house built like this, and everything around has just been cooked. Time has passed. We have 50 to 100-year-old palm trees, 100 years old max, with this growth around here. And yet this structure has survived. Here again, the perfection. And again, you can also see the Greco-Roman influence. It's just been so cooked out. I don't know. If this was in America, they would throw some cannons up here and tell us it was a fort. And speaking of cannonballs and cannons, this is a stone sphere in Bosnia. And in my opinion, looks like a projectile of some sort. It really looks like this thing was used to blast this area, like a Tunguska kind of thing. It's sitting in this big crater. Sometimes they call these concretions, like concrete. And I have a place in Utah, I've shared it, Chief and I visited, and you have these concretions embedded in the side of a cliff, in a crater, in a blast site. It looks like it's made of metal, the staining. Here another look at another one, and another one. Could such things have rained down, either natural or from an enemy? Now here recently, I did a video in Turkmenistan showing absolute sophistication to complete ruins, but yet all being advanced, castles in all conditions. And if I showed you this, I might again convince you that we were in South America or that these were Native American ruins, such as the ones found in Chaco Canyon, New Mexico. But these are in Pakistan. Takht Bahi in Pakistan is an archaeological site of an ancient Buddhist monastery dating back to the 1st century. Again, through my filter, whatever. This could have been 200 years ago. I mean, we have no business throwing these dates around when we look at the evidence that we do. When the ruins of Pakistan look like the ruins of New Mexico. Here's that site from above, this man going out for a stroll. And look at this, these cylinders. And these are the ruins. I mean, you have to think about what this looked like and not look at their renderings with the loinclothers, but really finish it with your mind. You can see it. And then you have to think about the destructive force. Again, looking like every city in North America after a supposed great fire. Just these chunks ripped off at a diagonal cut. What kind of force? Here, it looks like a little bench, perhaps for tourists. Unbelievable. And here it is from above. Pakistan, again looking like the ruins in Mexico that we started out the video with. Looks like some kind of pyramid. And it is so advanced. This is one complex. This is all one from the ground up. Similar to star forts on the coast of Malta. This is a chunk of building that has been brought to its knees, fused, almost completely wiped out. And here again, another little look at it. I mean, we're talking about Pakistan. I don't want to be rude, but we could go look at the modern Pakistani home. I mean, we could look at my home. This is beyond exceptional. And once again, just to show you the stairs and the condition. And such photos of past ruins should be concerning. Such ruins of modern fires, as I discuss over and over, should also be concerning. Here we are in Japan, in Ishibutai, and this is a tomb of Soga no Umaku, and whatever. I don't believe in tombs. Nothing could be more ridiculous. And that's interesting that it's just some cooked out blob and they're telling us it's a tomb. But yes, because underneath it's in better shape. Everything on the top has melted, and when you go inside, everything is more preserved. So here we have 1,200 hills in the Philippines. The Bohol Chocolate Hills. They tell us they're a geological formation that consists of 1,200 plus hills. No, there are 1,200 buildings under here that need excavated, and this is a city. And we live in interesting times where people are doing independent scans, LiDAR and such. And I've made videos in the past showing university in Georgia, I believe, that discovered a star fort. And in this community, we're not shocked. This channel has a lot of things that I wouldn't share, but that's okay. We can just pick and choose. This is really interesting. This is the Etruscan lady from the 2nd century BC. So the Etruscans are supposed to predate the Romans, and in my opinion, the Etruscan is the original. And I don't even believe in the Roman and Greek. Again, these are just a step up of loincloth wearers, and I just don't buy that. And I don't buy the story we're told for the Etruscans. The Etruscans are barely taught in school. And another new discovery, Casablanca in El Salvador. Here are some melted and buried structures. What else can be said? Melted and buried, and another look. And yet look at the smooth concrete perfection, almost seeming like it was metallic at one point. So let's take a little break and do a part 2. The next site is in Egypt, really looking like ruins we see in Turkey, but in even better shape. Turkey is super melted, and yet here we see very squared off angles that have survived this cataclysm, showing that this was a building, in my opinion. And here the mainstream narrative will tell us these rock tombs dating back to the 4th dynasty. Of course, stupid. And even if it was true, even more ridiculous. Why this condition? Time is just gonna do this? Did the people get lazy and not finish their carvings, as we would be told? They just half carved a window. Someone shimmied up here and carved this face, but didn't finish. Carved a doorway up here, a giant doorway and a few little windows. Zigzaggy pattern like a crown. No. This is a melted building, and may have been melted at the same time as all of the other buildings we see in this condition throughout the realm. Certainly everything I've showcased today. And I think this channel, if he's watching or gets wind of me sharing his work, here again we can see that same site in Egypt. So you see the pocket of survival that we were just looking at, and then you see brick turning to an almost unrecognizable state. The outskirts are very important, and I would encourage all of you, when you're doing boots on the ground, to explore the outskirts of the main attraction. Here again, that same site in Egypt, pretty much looking like Utah, except these pockets of preservation. Look at this doorway. We see this access into the building, now cooked out, looking like shit. We even see beautiful relief art, just barely preserved. And when we enter, again surviving the heat damage, everything gets a lot cleaner, looking like absolute concrete. Pillars have been severed, heat even making its way into this doorway, but yet preserving the top of the doorway. Heat rising, so the floor is in much better shape. And again, consider the condition that this was in on the top. Again, the outside and the very highest point of the building. So next, going back to LiDAR, like I was talking about, this is one discovery in Tabasco, Mexico. We thank them for the sauce. And the site is known as Aguada Phoenix. Interesting. It was identified through an innovative aerial survey utilizing laser mapping technology. So here is what we see using this technology. A city with a massive World's Fair building right here. Massive, right? And you can see it. Section, courtyard, waterways and fountains perhaps. And here's what it looks like without this technology. And it looks like people are farming on it. And I always talk about golf courses, but I would throw farms in to this equation. And certainly parks and everything else. Everything almost strategically covering things up. But here we can see the elegant layout carpeted by vegetation. Here again, we can see the greater city. So here was that big building, in my opinion. Here the grand waterways, even the fountains, even these circles. Look, circle, circle, circle. advanced road, advanced engineering, straight as an arrow, right angle here, all working in conjunction, flowing out from this center point. Really cool. Part 3. What does this all mean? That was originally what I was going to make this video about. What does this all mean? I was going to take that list that I shared a couple of videos back, and instead of explaining what each phenomenon is, I was going to talk about what this phenomenon really means to us. And now that I'm recording, and have already made most of the video, I might just talk about the reset itself. Over and over, what it seems like is this heat damage and this flood seem to have taken place as little as 200 years ago. In past videos I've said that perhaps the heat event may have come first, perhaps something to do with the sun or another luminary that makes its way through every couple hundred years. There do appear to be many stages of reset, this being a biggie. And then when looking at the brick buildings in modern cities throughout the realm, there seems to have been a more recent reset, where we have buildings and architecture remaining in pristine condition, statues, decorative artwork that seems to be from a time before a more recent reset. A big red flag for this, which entered into our community maybe about 7 years ago, came from a documentary called No Forests on Earth, on Level Earth. No forests. And the idea was that the growth we see all throughout this realm appears to be less than 200 years old. Now the mainstream will tell us there are some trees that grow very slowly, and they will tell us that there are trees older than 200 years. But the idea in this documentary was what we're seeing, even the greatest trees, are just babies. And it makes no sense unless you look at it from a reset perspective. And I think this new growth of trees is one of the best indicators of when this last event happened. When people show up and discover these cities, they're overgrown. All these ruins are overgrown. It's like people are just pulling their heads out of their asses and saying, oh, look what we just discovered every day. And if we suffer from this amnesia and are just discovering all of these things, oftentimes within the last 50 years, and we look around and we see trees and forests no older than 200 years, I think we have a pretty good idea of when this last event happened. So I think I'll just end with this place in Peru, the Ventanillas de Otusco in Peru, believed to extend back to 1400 BC. Of course. And really looking like Cappadocia, but in even better shape. I mean, you could almost pop the windows back in to this baby and move in. So for this week, I thank you all for joining me. Do have a blessed day. I love you all, and I'll see you next week. Okay, let's go bonus. Jen Sherman tells us, my great-grandfather took a train from Ohio, to Pueblo, Colorado in 1877. He was 19. He kept a journal his entire life. He wrote about thousands upon thousands of dead bison laying all over the prairies. He said in some places they were piled up the height of 2-story houses. Once he arrived in Pueblo, there were hides stacked for miles. He was told people were afraid of them, and that's why they were killed. Thank you for this comment. I cut something out of the last video. It was just a rant about the impossibility of sending men out into the wilderness to eradicate a creature, similar to the deer or the elk. I mean, maybe today it would be more conceivable, but not with horse. That's all there is to it. You're not taking teams of horses and scratch that. And firepower out into the wilderness. Impossible. Just simply impossible. The only way this could be achieved is either by using a more advanced technology or a natural event taking place. It's the same thing. It's the reset. And that's always what's left sitting on the table. It's no different than the Civil War. When we look at the destruction of the cities, it's not cannons and cannonballs that created this destruction, and nor is it so with the buffalo. I mean, when we look at Vietnam and the tactics that were used, spraying chemicals, really no different than today, from the air, they called it Agent Orange. Essentially a stronger version of the weed killer Roundup, something that was created by Monsanto, and they have convinced, 90% of the masses to voluntarily spray this around their homes. Get to know that smell. When you smell it, walk away. That's enough of me. I love you all, and God bless.